Hey guys, it's Eddany here back with another episode of Reminisce. It's been a long time. The last time we recorded was in October, but it's okay. Now we're back with my first official episode interviewing someone, and we have my favorite teacher of the year. Yes, my favorite teacher of the year, Miss Lauren.
Aw, stop. Hi, Sleepy. We're live.
We're live. Right now we're live. When this is up on YouTube, it'll be on YouTube. So hi YouTube. But we're live currently. So if there's anybody listening, hello. Hello. So Reminisce is basically, again, briefly, it's a show about exploring one's childhood and how it shaped how they are today. And we always talk about your child. I'm interested in your childhood. I always ask Miss so how did your parents come here? How this? How that? So I was like, hey, she would be the perfect person for my first episode. I mean, we always talk about stuff like this. So I was like, it's great, My first guest, Miss Lawrence.
All right.
So the first segment is early beginnings. So I wanted to ask you about your early life. What are your first memories? Like when you were born. Not when you were born, but when you started making your first memories.
My
what do you
first
remember?
real memories. So, Eddany already knows this, but now the world can know. Yeah. My parents moved here in the 70s from Korea, from South Korea. So my brother and I were both born here in the 70s. So my first real memories was growing up in the 80s, and my brother is about almost 6 years older than me. Mm-hmm. So I was playing with Barbies. My brother was outgrowing his G.I. Joes. I had My Little Ponies. I remember playing with these little toys as a kid, and also incorporating his G.I. Joes that he was over. So I was I don't know, it was doing a lot of I was just playing around with them and doing a lot of drawing. I do have a lot of memories of drawing and playing with toys and creating little worlds. I also have a lot of memories of riding my bicycle everywhere. I remember I used to bike everywhere. In middle school, we would ride our bike everywhere, and I still ride my bike a lot. And so
that's interesting.
Yeah, these things that you learn when you're little, you don't realize they really carry through. I mean, I still love creating little worlds when I'm painting. I still ride my bike everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's fun because I'm still building memories now.
Yeah. That's great. I can relate. I didn't really ride bikes a lot, but I did play with Barbies and dolls every day. Every day.
Did they speak Spanish? Because mine spoke Korean.
Your doll spoke Korean?
Yeah, my doll spoke.
Really?
They totally spoke Korean and English to each other because, even though I was born here, I think my first language was Korean. Yeah.
Because they wanted to, have their kids to speak their, native language. Yeah. I think mine spoke English because I was born here. And my mom didn't really, we spoke Spanish. My Spanish was, basically my first language. But since I was born in the United States, it was more the doll. All my memories, I can remember me thinking in English. I didn't think in Spanish. I thought in English. But yeah, all my life I've only thought in English. How people ask, what language do you think in?
Yeah, people ask that a lot, right?
Yeah. Do you think in English or in Korean?
I think in English mostly, but when I'm with Korean friends, I totally think in Korean, which is kind of strange. And I dream in Korean. Do you dream in Spanish ever?
I've dreamed where everyone's speaking Spanish, but not me thinking in Spanish. Yeah,
I know. There's a lot to figure out. There's a lot I want to learn about dreaming.
When I'm in Dominican Republic, I think in Spanish.
Right? Because you're exposed.
Yeah, exactly. I love it though. I'm speak Spanish forever.
Do you ever wish that your friends... There's so many times where I wish my friends spoke Korean.
Yes, I do. Well, most of my friends do speak Spanish because that's the group I'm drawn to. But when I have English friends, I'm damn, you don't get it.
You don't get it. You just have to,
Yeah, they'll never understand because you're just not... You don't speak Spanish.
Koreans have a word called nunchi, which is where you give someone a look and they know They understand you.
It's like that look, like that look where you get.
Yeah, I'm giving it to you across the room, like you get it.
Yeah. Do you remember the neighborhood you grew in by any chance? Like any playgrounds, school?
I do. Yeah, I grew up not super far from here. I grew up in Jersey, North Jersey.
How was that?
It was interesting. It was interesting because it's really pretty and it's there's a lot of woods. That's why I've always loved like hiking and just being out in nature, which is great. But it was also like you could wait at a bus stop and take a bus into the city and be in the city in like 40 minutes, which is pretty great too.
Yeah.
But I do remember lots of playgrounds and it was kind of like here in this area, like there were multiple elementary schools that we hopped around into different buildings in each school.
Like the same district?
Yeah, in the district.
Oh, okay.
There was like multiple schools, so there was multiple different playgrounds, but there's this one playground that everyone loved, and there was like everything was built with wood. There was like no plastic or bright colors.
I love parks like that.
Yeah, right?
I love it.
It's like everything felt so much cozier and natural. And I was always drawn to that. And I'm still drawn to things like that. You know, there's like a slide here in Sleepy Hollow. Is it Neperin?
Where's that?
There's that park on off Broadway. I think it's Neperin Road. And there's like a little park up there.
Oh, the dog park. I think that's what like my friends call it.
You guys call it
the dog park. It has a slide.
Yeah,
right?
and it's like
it's just like
in the woods,
like a circle, like a pathway, and then like on the side of it, there's like a slide, right? Yeah, I've gone down that slide too. Yeah, I remember.
It's like a secret slide.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't understand why people don't come here. It's a cool spot.
That is a cool spot.
Like,
and you
have
a view.
It. Yeah, and it's not even that, but like you're hidden almost.
Yep,
so
totally.
Like, you have to go up the road. You're hidden, and like the slide is cool.
We're giving it away though. Now everyone's gonna know where we are.
Well, we're gatekeeping it, so hopefully you're not going over there. But yeah, I just think parks are like a really big part of like your imagination and stuff like that. Like I know some parks will have like little vendor, like people will make like under the park like a vendor spot, and I just remember like people like selling like the wood chips. That's what it's called. Like that stuff. Like we would just like pretend to be selling that for more wood chips. Like I'd be like, you're paying with the same thing you're buying,
right? I miss that. I miss just like I'm a mom now, but I miss seeing. I remember my kid playing in the playground with her friends and just like so much freedom. They would just pretend like they were in a whole other world, and I love that. And like this summer, I did summer camp. I taught the arts camp over in Kingsland Park, and I didn't realize how much I love little kids. They are so creative.
Yeah,
everything is like fun.
Yeah, everything is fun to them.
Yeah, like I miss that, and I kind of wish that like we still had that in us as we grow older. But maybe that's why I love teaching art, because in art anything does go as long as you can talk about it or express your idea a little bit,
It's beautiful. So, well, with that we can move on to our next segment, which is influences in your life, like key influences. So who do you think was like your key influence growing up, or someone that inspired you, or somebody that did anything to like really make you different?
This is not to sound totally cheesy, and I know I'm on a school radio station, but really my high school art teacher, her name, she was just so cool. Aww. Like I think at the time when I was in high school, I didn't associate her as being cool. Like I just associated her as being like, oh, she's a fun adult, she lets us do art and hang out. But now in retrospect, when I think about her, and I keep in touch with her. I could call her a friend, really. She lives in Florida now. She's retired. She lives in Key West. She's like living the life. But Her name's Jane. Also,
she's the same name as you. Wow.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and when you're little, you like bond over things like that.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I can't, but
right? Yeah,
unfortunately, but I get what you mean.
Right?
When people have the same last name as me, I'm like, oh, you're
I
like my brother.
You.
Like you're like, oh, okay,
exactly,
okay, sibling.
It's like the little things.
Aww.
So her classroom had plants everywhere. She taught ceramics and sculpture and painting, and she sort of did what I think Miss Dreer and I do, which is like we let you guys, we teach you some skills and then we let you guys develop them, right? We let you guys, you want to throw on the wheel? Okay, you need to practice and you guys need to just experiment, and there's lots of failures, and then you'll find a success or two. And that's what like Miss Jane did. Miss Granis totally let us find what we like, and then she just encouraged us to keep practicing, keep failing, keep trying. And then like just her vibe, she was like, her room had plants everywhere and she had dim lighting, and like I don't know, she always played music. And
like you.
Yeah.
You know what, Miss? You kind of remind me of who exactly you're speaking of, matter of fact.
Like total goals. And you know what? She played music that she wanted to listen to. Well, first of all, we didn't have like the internet, so.
Yeah, of course. So it was like CDs and stuff.
Yeah, she'd play CDs. She totally would play CDs. And she wasn't playing, like, every once in a while she'll play, like, Z100, because this was New Jersey, so we had Z100 too. Yeah. So she wasn't, like, playing, contemporary, like, radio all the time. She was, like, playing, like, her CDs and tapes, a lot of tapes. And I remember we did, like, we made mixtape covers, which I thought was kind of fun. So, like,
that is fun.
Yeah, right? Like, we didn't make the tapes, but we brought in the covers, and she was just cool. She was just a really nice, cool woman. She was a little sassy. So, yeah, I think I want to be her.
You want to be her? You're, like, stealing her identity?
Yeah.
Like, you're like, oh, we have the same name. Like, I'm an art teacher, too.
Yes.
Just snatching her identity. Might as well take her ID.
I know. Live in Florida.
Just put your face on it. No, really.
Don't tell her.
No.
This is really live.
I mean, I hope
I'm not doing that.
Jane, are you there? Like, are you there? But yeah, you know what I find really crazy? A lot of people always mention teachers. Teachers are really a key influence in people's lives. Like, when I did my first episode, I mentioned like my 4th grade teacher, and because maybe I'm the same. Like, we see how you became an art teacher. Like, I'm copying him. I want to be an elementary school teacher because he just influenced me that much. And it's just amazing how teachers really do. Like, they're like almost like your second parent.
Right? You know, I sometimes tell some kids, I'm like, you should be a teacher.
And they're like, ew, no, man. No. Like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, I don't have patience for that. But the thing is, patience is something I think you really learn to adopt in your life. Like, you learn how to be more patient. Every fight you have with a friend, every time you disagree with your parent or your guardian, it's just growing patience.
Yeah, totally. And you grow patience. Yeah, of course. Well, with that being said, I love that you mentioned a teacher and like how you mentioned like somebody like that. Like, Miss, I be thinking about you like that. I'm like, oh, you're a key influence now. Like, I'm trying to be like you. Yeah, no, like, it's crazy. Most of my key influences are like my sister, and like the rest of them are teachers. Like, all of them are teachers. Yeah, they're just crazy. But with that being said, let's move on to our next segment, which is, what are some moments or memories that you feel like really, like, you faced obstacles, or that you had pivotal moments that you experienced during your childhood? You have any?
Yeah. Okay. Actually, yeah, I can talk about this on the radio. So, my parents, they're immigrants, and there's a lot of cultural differences, right? Like,
yeah, of course.
It wasn't like I was telling them everything, and I felt this pressure to always be like a good kid. Like, I didn't want them to worry, because they really were working so hard.
That's a struggle a lot of kids who have immigrant parents have to go through.
Yeah, because your parents, if you think about it, your parents are trying to like set up a whole new life in a whole new country with a whole different language, and it's like they're going through a lot already to begin with. But when you're a teen, you kind of forget, or when you're a child, you forget that, like, oh, they're struggling with something else because you're so about me, me, me.
Yeah.
Well, it's like biological, right? You're like young. You're like thinking it's all about me.
Yeah.
But like, I think when I was young, I struggled with like, oh, like my friends go on sleepovers and my friends throw parties.
Yeah, I can't.
And I can't.
My mom hates sleepovers.
Yeah.
She's like, you can't go.
You can't go.
Yeah.
Right. And it's
like, Mom,
right?
it's not fair. Like, I'm missing out and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's just different. But like now I have a kid and I'm totally raising her. Like, I mean, like she can go sleepovers. We have sleepovers. We're throwing them. So like you have the power to change your life and how the trajectory that you raise your family, like, you know, you can change that. But like I'm not upset that I never got to do those things, but it was definitely when I was younger I was upset. It was a struggle. It was a total struggle not fitting in, not quite fitting in. And like, you know, like it's like little things, like, you know, if you're like in a school concert or play, like sometimes your parents can't make it because they're working. Yeah. Or sometimes like they don't really understand.
They're like, oh, okay, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
you think you got away with more things because of that, like for sure.
Yeah, right. You will never get away.
No, but like. Does that mean you're first generation, right?
Yeah,
that means
first generation,
right?
Yep.
My mom is, I guess, second generation because her mom came here with her.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm third generation.
Yeah.
Like me and my siblings are third generation. Yeah. So my mom went to the school.
Yeah.
So I can't get away with anything. Almost nothing. No. Almost nothing. But I know since your parents, you're first generation, it was probably easier for you to get away with things.
My God. My brother got away with so much stuff.
He's older than you, right? So he's like, he comes first. He's like,
my God. My brother would sneak out of the house and he'd be like, okay, if they come home, because my parents were religious, like they're very Christian, they're super Christian, so they would go to like Bible study or church on Wednesday, right? And totally makes sense because like I think there's a lot of Koreans in America who go to church because it's a community too, right? It's like where they go and see other Koreans. So anyway, my parents would go to church on Wednesday nights. They would come home late, I don't know, like 10, right? But my brother would sneak out of the house and be like, Jane, don't tell Mom and Dad that I left the house. Like he'd like sneak back in. Like
it's just you two?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's just you two. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he'd want to go to concerts and he'd be like, Jane, you should tell Mom and Dad how awesome this band is and how great it is and how all the kids in school are going so that I can go.
Oh, really? But you wouldn't go with him, or he would?
No, he was much older than me, so I wouldn't really go.
Oh, so it was just to like get your parents to like, oh, okay. My sister would sneak out a lot too. So what my sister would do was she would like tell me like, oh, like, or if she wanted to go anywhere, she would like tell my mom like, I'm bringing my sister, so I'm not gonna do anything bad. That's how you know I'm not doing anything bad.
But
she didn't. She usually when I was there, I didn't see anything bad. Yeah. She just really wanted to hang out with her friends.
Yeah.
But like there were some times where she'd be like, shh, I'm leaving through the back door. Shh. You know, I'd be like,
but
okay.
They knew everything. They knew. They know. Parents know everything. Everyone.
Like, well, kind of. Not really. Like, my mom catches onto things after. Like, I feel like at the end of the day, she always finds out something. Yeah. Not everything, but she always finds out one thing. And then it's just like, oh my God. You know, like, it's just terrible.
You know, we just want our kids to be safe.
Yeah.
Right?
No, and I totally understand that.
Yeah.
You know, but sometimes I feel like kids just, especially when I can bet you can relate, just want freedom. They want to be able to do what they please and stuff.
Yep. And then there's generational gaps, and then there's cultural gaps. Yeah. And, like, you're navigating a lot.
I feel like my mom was like raised by older people, so she's more traditional than most people her age. Like, my mom's like, she just turned like 41, like literally a couple weeks ago, and like she's still very traditional. My mom is also like, she goes to church a lot, so I can feel like I can relate to you a lot. But like, do you feel like your parents having that like language gap, like was it harder for them to like connect to other people too? Like, do they have they like do they speak English now, or like? Yeah,
they do. Their English is like a lot. You know, they both can have conversational English for sure, and you know, and like they can joke in English and things like that. But when I was younger, like I think they were still like, I mean, my parents moved here I think in 1972, and so like when I was in high school, they were still not. I mean, they were in the U.S. for more than 15 years, but they weren't as fluent as they are now, you know, and like I also again, because we're reminiscing. In retrospect, it's like, wow, like it must have been really awkward and hard for them. Like, you know, like when you go to your kid's concert, you like mingle with other parents, and like mingling is not an easy thing.
Neighbors,
with your neighbors, and it's like not an easy thing to do. Yeah, you know, and so like I have a lot of respect and grace for them. Like, wow, like that was really difficult.
Yeah, I can bet.
Yeah, and like sometimes I feel a little shameful, like when I think about like, oh, how I used to be annoyed by things like that.
Oh, but I can see,
right?
Yeah. Aww. Well, I can see why, like, you'd be like, oh, like my parents don't speak English, this and this, like da da da. Yeah, like my mom does speak English. She speaks it pretty well. Like there's some grammar that she needs to fix sometimes, but she basically was raised, like not raised here. She was raised in DR, but she came and she's been here for a long time, so you can have any conversation with her, she'll understand anything you're saying. But I feel like sometimes, like when it came to like school stuff or like with other like people who were of like white race, like I was like, oh, you know, like, oh, like, or with it when it came to money and stuff like that, like I'd be like, oh, like, no, I can't really go here, there, and there because my mom doesn't have the money. Yeah. And it kind of embarrassed me at some point. Like, I was like, oh, like, no, I can't really go because my mom's not going to give me the money to go there. Or, like, when people would go out to get food, I'd be like, oh, like, yeah, I can't really. Or when it was to go out, like, my mom is very, like, traditional Dominican. Women can't go out. Women can't do this. Women can't do that. Like, it's just a system that they set up, and my mom is used to it, and because you know she's very traditional since she was raised by older people, she just it's really difficult to be able to do things that other people do when you just like physically cannot. Like I can't be out later than like 9 and she'll be blowing up my phone. Why are you not home? Why are you not this? And I feel like that makes me crave, like, to be 18. She's like, when you turn 18, do whatever you want. I'm like, oh, my God. A couple more months. But, you know, like, you see TV shows and movies about it where the character reflects about how much they're like their parent. Yeah.
It's like, I wonder what Eddany will be like in, like, 15 years.
I can't. I wonder. I mean, when I was little, I'd always be like, I wonder how I'm going to look. I wonder how my kids are gonna look. Did you ever wonder that, like how like Viva was gonna look?
Oh,
like,
totally.
Her entire life.
Oh, totally. She's totally changed. Like, yeah, she's taller than me. She's got this like totally curly hair.
I was saying,
how did that all
when
happen?
You were little?
Oh, when I was little, like what my future would look like.
You're like, oh, I wonder what my kids would look like.
Yeah, I thought they would look like Barbie and G.I. Joe.
Barbie and G.I. Joe. Like, no, I had a dream once. So my brother was a little baby. I was living in DR. And I had a dream once where, like, I thought my brother was going to look like Justin Bieber when he was older. My brother does not look like Justin Bieber. See? He doesn't even look like how he looked as his baby.
Our minds, they create these whole alternative universe.
No, and, like, my sister looks the same. I knew how my sister was going to come out. I was like, she's going to look the same. Me, I was like, I'll probably look, like, more beautiful. Da-da-da-da. Like, I had this whole image in my head, and
I need to see a family photo
of my family.
Yeah,
you should. I will show you. I'll show you. But yeah, it's just funny how like our brains just like make up stuff.
I like this show. Like I like this idea that you are thinking about your childhood and who you are now, and how it's helped sort of mold you into who you are now.
Yeah, I mean, I was really thinking up. Like, what should my show be about? I was really I was like, I might make a show about, like, just talking. And I'm actually glad I took the time and be like, hey, I really like talking about trauma. I love trauma dumping. I love talking about, like, anything. I love talking about people's childhood. That's one thing I always like because I feel like I'm so interested in my own. I'm like, I want to know what other people experience because the way you see life, like, the word Sonder, like everybody's living the same life you are, and like everyone's living their own life, you know. Yeah. This is everyone's first time living. When I heard that, I was like, it's my mom's first time living. Like this is all new to her. Everything, having a kid, every day something's new to her. Like everything she's experiencing is new to her, and I just never like I don't know why my head like never thought of that. Like just how I'm living life, my mom lived the same life before I was born, and it's just like. Wow.
that's really important to remember, that every day really is a new day and you've never done this before.
Exactly.
And like the stars have aligned this way today and this is what you're going to deal with. Like,
yeah.
And things happen in life. You have traumatic experiences as a child or as an adolescent or as an adult, and it can change how you live. It can change your decisions, how you make decisions, rather.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I mean, we kind of dove into it, but what was the thing? Let's see. We already dove into it, but the last segment I think was impact of identity. Or did we do that? No, I don't think so. But well, whatever. We basically dove into it, which was impact on identity. Like, how did your childhood experiences shape your identity? And we basically dove into it. You know, like, life is something that we experience new every single day. You know, it's something that everybody, like, your childhood and you now is not the same. The things that happened in those couple of years changed your entire. I feel like, Miss, it's so weird. Like, I feel like 13-year-old me is not the same as 17-year-old me, and that was just 4 years ago.
I know, and you are crazy. Different.
But like, the gap starts closing when you're older, or like, it's like the 30-year-old is not the same as like the 70-year-old, but the 30 and the 40-year-old are kind of the same, you know?
Yeah,
which is weird. I'm like, like when you're young, like 1 to 5, 2 completely different people, and then 5 to 10, that's a whole like person that can think.
Well, I mean, 9th grade to senior year. I see kids go from 9th grade to senior year, and they're just like, some kids really change a lot.
Yeah, I feel like for sure, like freshman me is not the same as senior me, which is crazy. Like, I felt like senior year was so far away. It's so close. It's crazy.
It is really close. And
like, it's crazy. Like, next year I'm a high school student now, and I can't do this, I can't do that. And then next year I'm a college student, and I can do whatever I want. Be out as late as I want.
That's what your mom says.
Yeah, you know, like, no, that's literally what my mom says. But like, it's crazy. Like, you go from not being able to be out later than like 9 to being able to like decide whether you want to go to college or decide whether you want to go to class that day. You decide at what time you're gonna go to sleep, at what time you're gonna go home. Like, it's just like, I don't understand. Life is crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of decision making.
It is.
But I think you remind me, keep good friends. You know, have good friends in your life. Have good friends.
Well, piece of advice that I have is be careful who you trust.
Yeah, be careful who you trust. That's
be careful who you let into your circle.
Exactly. Who you share things with.
Yeah.
And, but also, like, try to be that person for some people. Like, I think if you try to be a good friend, you try to be a good daughter, or try to be a good, you know, student, or whatever you try, as long as you try to be honorable and good, I think it's contagious. For sure.
For sure. Yeah. That's one thing, like, I never go, like, through my life thinking I'm going to be malicious today.
No.
I'm looking for revenge.
Right.
People like that are the people that karma comes and kicks their little booty at the end.
Yeah, they have a lot of hurt or pain.
Yeah, because you're not only hurting yourself, you're hurting others in a way. And you're making your identity show how evil and malicious you are, you know? And it's crazy. Like, I saw a video the other day where your idea of yourself is different than the idea that others have of you, which is like crazy. Like, you might be thinking that you're putting yourself out a certain way, and people will see it a completely different way. Like, when I really put my thinking cap on, I was like, wow, like, I could be thinking I'm like doing the meanest thing in the world, or I'm doing the sweetest thing in the world, and somebody might take that and take it a completely different way, which is like, wow, I could think I'm like a certain person, and somebody else could think I'm like somebody completely different.
They read you in a different way.
In a different way.
Because we're constantly projecting, right? We're constantly, that's how I feel, at least, that, like, you know, often if you're upset at something, or you're upset about an idea or a person or whatever it is, an action, it's because, you know, it's usually not really about that. It's something a little deeper, right?
Yeah.
So,
and everybody has their own opinion, so everybody thinks differently.
And it starts young. It starts from your childhood, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like, you feel like, oh, well, my parents didn't do this and that, and you don't realize the true facts, right? Until you're a little bit older.
Yeah, of course. Like when you're little, like realizing what's right and what's wrong, that's when your life changes. Like I didn't notice it. Like it's crazy because I have an older sister, I have a younger brother, so it's like I'm seeing every stage of life.
Yes,
it's crazy because I see what my sister's going through. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Like I'm like, I'll probably go through that one day, and now I'm here. And then it's crazy. It's like because we're 4 years apart, so it's like where I leave off, my brother starts. So when I look at my brother, I'm like, yo, like, why are you acting like that? And I'm like, wait, no. I went through this same thing.
Yep.
And I'm like, damn, that's how my sister saw me. Like, she saw me like, oh, like, stop being so, like, selfish and so annoying. But in his eyes, he doesn't see that he's being selfish and annoying. No. And I'm just like, wow, like, I feel so bad. I'm like, damn, like, my brother will be annoying me. Like, and I'm like, damn, he acts like how I used to. Now I see why people were like, you gotta stop doing that. Like, and I'm like, it's crazy.
You're told no so much when you're young, right?
Yeah. And you don't see it.
Yeah. But, you know, when you think about it, what about the reverse? Like, you see your sister, aren't there so many things you admire about her?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I do.
Your little brother probably sees so many things about you that he admires.
So. Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah. Like, and it's also the sibling dynamic.
Yeah.
Like, I know that you said you had an older brother, but you had a daughter and you don't have any other kids. So obviously, like, she doesn't really have a dynamic.
Totally.
She just has you.
She just has me.
Yeah.
So
I always think about that. I'm like, that's why I'm like, damn, maybe I'll have like 2 kids, but then I'm like, then they just have each other, and that's good. But then I like how like there's an older sibling, a younger sibling, and the 3. But then I'm like, that's an odd number. I want 4. And I'm like, I'm not popping out all these kids. I'm like, I'm not doing all that. But I'm like, I don't know what I'm thinking. You know, I just think of the family dynamic. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's just me and her, and it's like, man, she could have other siblings, but I'm like, but this is fun too. Like, this is so fun and different. And then, like, I think about all my friends who are only children. I'm like, they're cool. They're okay.
Yeah, it's weird. Sometimes when I find out somebody's an only sibling, I'm like, really?
Like, how did that? Like,
really? You don't give the vibe, because usually, like, when you think of an only sibling, you're like, oh, they're probably spoiled,
or
they're very selfish, or very isolated. But there's a lot of like only like people who have no siblings that are really like chill.
Yeah,
and nice.
They're just social. Yeah, she's just
I feel really like they find siblings in other people.
Exactly.
That's not just their own blood.
Yeah. Like, my family is small, but like we've got like the best of friends, and like that's what's really important, right? And you know, maybe one day she'll be on this show when this show keeps going on for generations. Whoever takes over, maybe your brother takes over this show.
Oh, he's a freshman next year, which is crazy. You'll probably have him.
I hope I do. What's his name?
Edward Martinez.
I'm looking for you, Edward.
Yeah, Edward. She's on you.
I'm on you.
Yeah, you know, I had my older sister. Her name. We have different dads, so her name is Will Mary Ibar. So like all my life, I'd be like, oh, did you have Will Mary Ibar? Or like, you know, because usually when people see the attendance, they're like, oh, Martinez, is that your brother or your sister? But that never happened with me. So I'd be like, oh, like nobody knows that's my sister, you know. And then I would like that middle school. I remember I would do that so much. I'd be like, did you have my sister? And some teachers did have her, and some teachers didn't. But I would be like, oh, that's my sister. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, that's my sister. I'd be so proud to say that's my sister.
That's sweet.
Yeah. So I'm like, I wonder, like, oh, like we have the same last name, so hopefully that will happen to Edward when he thinks like I'm the cool older sister that the teacher remembers. You know,
definitely.
I always think about that. But yeah, I just wanted to ask, Miss. So your parents came from Korea. So do you have family here or no?
Yeah, I do. So my parents came from Korea, and my mom's sister lives in California, and so I have 2 cousins. My mom's sister had 2 kids, and so when I was really little, here's like another thing. When I was little, like I would go to California every summer.
I wanna go so bad.
I would go every summer. So, like,
you're so cool.
Yeah, from like, I don't know, elementary school up until like high school, I'd go to California every summer, and then like go to Korea from California because it's very close.
Oh, it's closer.
Yeah. So the good thing is, like, it's awesome. California is so beautiful, and I love my cousins. But like the bad thing is, like, you know, like you hear about like your friends back home, and they're all hanging out, and then you kind of feel like a little left out. But no, I'm really grateful for it. So I really feel like those really those months in California, like 2 months or a month or 2 months, they really shaped who I am and what I like. I'm really chill, I think, and that's really because I think it's a California chill, life. Yeah. So I have cousins there, and then I have a couple cousins in like in the city and in Virginia on my dad's side. My dad's the eldest of 8.
Whoa.
I know. 8. Wow. Like, here I am with one kid.
Like, mostly boys or, like, girls or mix?
All mix. He's the eldest. I think it's 4 boys, 4 girls.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect.
Perfect, yeah. And so, most of his siblings live in Korea still. So, when we go to Korea, there's a lot of family to see.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
Do you like Korea? I've always wanted to go.
You should go.
I want to.
You should totally go. I love it. I do love it. It's been a while. Like, we were supposed to go before COVID, and then COVID happened, and then I haven't. It's so expensive to fly, but
yeah, it really is.
We're due for a trip. It's so beautiful. It's like,
I want to go.
Yeah, Korea has a lot of islands. I don't know if people know that. There's like lots of little islands you could take a boat to.
I know, like Jeju Island.
My parents live there.
They live there?
Yeah.
What, miss?
Yeah, so my parents...
Isn't that, like, so, like, bougie, like, tropical, tangerine?
It's very tropical. It's very tangerine, but there's, like, you know, like, Jeju City is kind of, like, bougie and, like...
Oh, I would think your parents are from, like, the mainland.
They are, but there's, like, the rest of the island is just really, like, not built up at all, and so... They live in, like, a small little house, like, down away from the city in Jeju, and it's so beautiful. Did your parents move,
like, from America after you guys left?
Yeah, so my brother has 3 daughters, and they're all, 2 are in, one's a senior, and she's going to college, and one's in college, and one is in 10th grade. My daughter's in 10th grade, so my parents, they were like, okay, you have kids, looks like... They're healthy. They're good to go. Bye.
Yeah. Peace. Yeah, my mom says that. Like, she's planning on building a house in DR, and she's like, yeah, after Edward leaves, peace.
That's what they did. They, like, they worked hard. They set us up. Wow. They worked hard.
Now they're on vacay mode.
Yeah, they really are, and well-deserved. So they live in a tiny house in Jeju. It's really cute. Well, so it's really like an apartment, but it's really cute, and it's, you know, everyone speaks Korean there. The healthcare is really good there. The food is good. They have family and friends there, so... I miss them a lot, though. Like,
do they come often or no? Like for holidays?
Yeah, they come about once a year. Like, they came last year in April and stayed with me for a month, which is awesome.
Oh, that's nice, miss. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, I'm happy for them.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know, I always want to, like, I wish, like, DR is like just 3 hours away. The flight, you watch a movie, you come back. Yeah. But I've always wanted to, like, I wish it was farther.
You wish it were farther so you could, like, really travel?
Yeah, like, I've always wanted to be, like, the one, like, I've always wanted to ride a plane where it has, like, a stop and then you go. When you go to Korea, do they have flights like that?
Yeah, sometimes they stop. Yeah, sometimes they stop and then sometimes they go direct. But I like stopping sometimes. It's nice, right?
It's like, ooh, I'm in a country just to stop here, but like, hey, I could take a picture and say I was here.
Exactly.
You know?
Are you really going to be a teacher?
Yeah.
Then if you are going to be a teacher, then you have vacations.
Yeah, I have vacation time. I know that, but, you know, I'm thinking probably, like, getting a second job, you know, just to have more money.
Yeah,
you know?
Save your money.
I want to go to Dubai, miss. I'm trying to be out there for real. Really? Yeah, I want to go to Dubai. I met, last night I was closing, at the supermarket at T-Town, and there was these people from the Middle East, and they were like, oh, where are you from? Because I was speaking Spanish, because I have my coworker speak Spanish, and they were like, oh, like, you're from where? And I'm like, oh, I'm Dominican. I was like, hey, where are you guys from? And they were like, oh, guess. And I was like, I don't know, Middle East, like, I don't know, da-da-da-da. They said some country, the biggest country in the Middle East. They're like, oh, you're gonna get it right away. And I was like, I don't know, like, I really don't know. They're like, you don't know, and I'm like, no. And they said something like with an S, something like that. I was like, oh, like, I've never heard of this before. I'm like, I want to go there. Like, I'm like, now I want to go there because I've never heard of it before, you know? It's just like there's places all over the world where I've never seen, and I'm so curious about it. And I don't have the money to go there right now. So
not right now, but you're gonna save your money.
Yeah,
and then you're gonna travel.
I'm gonna get 2 jobs and go everywhere.
Don't stay in bougie hotels. Stay at like Airbnbs and like save your money for good restaurants.
Yes, yummy. Good experiences. Go jet skiing. I don't know, like everything. I want to do everything.
Yeah.
Have you traveled a lot or no?
I did. I have. I think that's like a huge reason why I teach.
Yeah. For the vacation time.
Yeah, for like the travel, definitely. Oh God, I don't know how many countries, but I've traveled a lot. Like, ooh, is it time to wrap up? It's time to wrap up.
Almost.
I've traveled a lot. We could talk about that in class, but I've gone. Probably the craziest place I've gone to was Mongolia. That was pretty wild. It was like,
nice.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful country.
Okay, that's nice.
We could talk about that in class.
Ooh.
I know. I could keep talking to you.
I know. I feel like we can talk forever. Like when class is over, I'm like, oh.
That's why art class is so much fun,
I know,
right? Because you get to
I love
make
that
art
class.
and talk.
Yeah. Okay, so our last segment is reflection. So what advice would you give your younger self? How do you think, like, you view your identity, your journey through your childhood now?
The advice I would give my younger self is, honestly, like, think about, there's got to be a better way to phrase this, but, like, try to be in someone else's shoes. Think about the other person.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why you say something like that. Like, how you said it's all about me when you're younger. Do you think your past has prepared you for your future?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have a huge heart for students who come from immigrant parents, for sure, or students who are immigrants themselves. But definitely, I have a huge heart for, like, first generation, those who identify as, like, first generation.
Yeah.
I get that. It's definitely prepared me to be a mother and a teacher when I reflect on my childhood. And, yeah, I wish I was a person who journaled.
Yeah, I can't.
You know what I mean? I'm just not. I'm not a journal
I'm like
writer.
I'll do it one day and I forget.
But I can look at drawings and be like, oh, I remember when I drew that. And I remember how I felt when I drew that in my sketchbook.
Nice. That's good about art, you know? You don't have to put a date on it. You can just reflect on how you feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like nice. So, last question. If there was anything you could go back and change, what would you change?
Oh my gosh.
If you had a time machine.
If I had a time machine, honestly, I don't know, is this bad advice? But if I had a time machine, I would have said yes more often.
No, that's 100% a great piece of advice.
I would have, like, tried, like be less nervous. I was, like, kind of a nervous kid. I'm not really an extrovert.
Yeah.
Like,
you're like an introvert in an extrovert disguise.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like.
An ambivert, right? Like, I am. Like, when I'm comfortable, I can yap. But, like, really, like, amongst other people, big groups, I'm usually the quiet and listener. Yeah.
Right.
But I wish I tried and said yes more when I was younger. Like, and you know.
Yeah. That's something that everybody, like, it's one thing, like, you are always like, oh, I wish I said yes to that. Like, it would have been fun. Like, the path you could have taken is different.
Yeah.
Maybe it would have changed your life entirely.
Yeah, or it just would have been more fun, or just different experience.
Yeah.
Like, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, to summarize the episode, we talked about Miss Lawrence's childhood. We talked about a lot of different things. Talked about traveling, teachers. We talked about everything. So this was the first episode of Reminisce. So thank you so much, Miss Lawrence, for coming.
Eddany. This show is
really
a very cool concept.
I'm glad.
Thanks for having me.
What's good is she listens to the radio, guys.
I do.
Every time I come into her classroom, she's listening to the radio.
I love the radio. I love music.
She's our number one fan, and she will be listening back to this episode.
I will.
I hope you will. And I hope everybody who's listening really enjoyed it. So thank you so much, Miss Lawrence. This was the first episode of Reminisce, and our listeners, I hope you enjoyed it. And that is it.
Bye. Bye.